Welcome, writing friends. I'm Nathan, and this is another writing video. Today I'm talking about how you can take the sometimes disparate threads of an idea and develop it into something you can work with, something that you can start fleshing out. We're near the beginning of Preptober. It's the first time that I'm doing it, and I'm pretty excited about it. My goal for Preptober is to have 3 ideas fleshed out to a brief outline stage so that I can really hit the ground running in November with the idea that I'm most excited about. In the past few days, I've been working on an idea, and I realized I only had the vague threads of an idea. I wasn't sure at all where it was going. The ideas that I had were more world building, tone, and background situation. They didn't offer anything to do with character or plot. But by asking myself a few questions about what I had and what I wanted, I was able to move this idea along, well, at least until the next step. So what I'll do to illustrate my point is give you the disparate threads of the idea that I had, and then I'll tell you what I did in order to achieve a coherent story idea. So this is idea number 1. It's the near future and in a major city in Japan. It's festival time. The billboards and neons are colored pink and white to symbolize the cherry blossoms that no longer grow in abundance. There is a heavily guarded tree, a cherry blossom tree, on the grounds of the emperor's residence, and the start and duration of the festival are taken from the blooming of that tree. And this is idea strand number 2. There is some kind of poetry contest, possibly haiku if I keep with the Japanese theme. The top poets in Japan compete against each other to write the best, concise, and beautiful poem. Over the past few years, AI programs designed by big tech companies have also entered the contest. In the previous years, these AI programs have been well off the pace, but there is talk that one or more of the companies have made a breakthrough. So, as you can see, the first part of my idea is really just setting and world building. The second part has some elements of a story, perhaps a sort of background situation, and maybe some theme, but there's no hint as to who my protagonist might be or what my central plot might be. So what do I do from here? I feel like I've got a few good story elements without actually having the story to put them in. I remembered some advice I think I first heard on writing excuses, and if I remember correctly, it was Mary Robinette Kowal. Anyway, I think it was writing excuses, and it was Mary Robinette Kowal who gave this advice. But I've heard it quite a few times since. That advice is to look at your situation or story and decide which character has the most to lose or the most to gain from that situation. The advice is usually given to somebody who is struggling to decide who the main character of their story is. I'm going to adapt that advice a little for my own purpose, which is I'm going to look at my situation and decide on some characters who would have high stakes within that situation. Who might have stakes in the outcome of a poetry competition between humans and robots? I came up with 3 characters. The first was really good because along with the character came a little bit more story idea. The first character that I thought of was a computer programmer, and this computer programmer has designed a program or an AI that can play shogi very well, perhaps to the level that can beat the best shogi players in Japan. In the world of the story, it's actually been illegal for anybody to develop a program that can play shogi or can play it to such a high level. That is because the people in charge of these things in Japan saw what happened to chess when the top computers could beat the highest grandmasters of chess, and they didn't want that to happen to shogi, which was sort of a non-tangible cultural property of Japan. The second character that I thought of is actually a poet. Their stakes in the outcome of the contest might be pretty obvious. I imagined that this person when they were a teenager, they spent a lot of time on the internet and at home on their computer, and they ended up developing a social phobia. With a lot of support from friends and family, they were able to get past that. But I think this kind of a character has an even greater emotional stake for thinking that there are things in life that people can do that computers can't. The third character idea that I came up with is an otaku. An otaku is a subculture of generally young person in Japan who is obsessed with computers or the internet, some aspect of subculture, to the detriment of their social skills. This third character is something that my second character was in danger of becoming. Um, the stereotypical otaku is somebody who lives in their parents' basement and spends all of their life on the internet and can't function in everyday life. Robots with AI programs are becoming increasingly popular here in Japan, partly because of the aging population. These robots are being used as companions for elderly people, just something that they can talk to and can keep their minds occupied. In the world of the story, an offshoot of that has been robots. I don't necessarily, when I say robot, I don't necessarily mean humanoid formed robots. In the world of the story, a robot with an AI personality has become increasingly popular with otaku. Now, when people are critical of these things, they tend to say they're like a sex toy with Siri. People who are positive about them tend to think of them as a bit more like the program in the movie Her, if you've seen that. Something somewhere between a manager for all your devices and something or someone that you can talk to.
Wish I could touch you.
How would you touch me?
This character wants to feel that the AI that they're in a relationship with is more than just a clever algorithm. He or she really wants to feel, whether that's logical or otherwise, that their companion has a soul. So they think that this poetry contest is very important for them and how they feel towards their companion and how they feel about themselves. Remember that I am planning for NaNoWriMo, so I've put the limitation on myself that I only want one point of view character. I've chosen the young poet as that character, as I believe he or she has the most to lose or gain from this situation. In other words, they have the most scope for change. My goal here is to figure out what the character is lacking. What do they need? What do they feel? What does the character feel they are lacking in order to be complete? Then, of course, you have to figure out what it is that your character actually needs to be complete. With the information I've already worked out, I've come up with a tentative plot. A young woman is struggling with mental health issues. She is recovering from severe social anxiety, which was induced by living her social life 100% over the internet. The debilitating anxiety kept her out of life and out of school for almost a year. She loves reading and writing poetry, and when the opportunity arises to enter a national competition, she takes a chance. She has to face self-doubt, fear of failure, anxiety, sabotage by opposition, and protective parents to prove to herself that her life does have meaning beyond the internet. My working theory is that the otaku is a friend, or perhaps even a relationship, from her time on the internet when she was too scared to go outside. I want the programmer character to be an antagonistic force, and I'm still trying to work out how to put that character into direct opposition with my main character. But hey, this video was about how to take vague, disparate threads of an idea and work them into a cohesive idea that you can do something with. and I believe I've accomplished that. I hope you've found this close look at my thought process to be educational or at least entertaining. Be sure to tell me that I've got it all wrong and that you know a better way to do it in the comments below. Remember, write many, write often. Thanks for watching.